Time and again we have analyzed how asymmetric drone tactics neutralize heavy Russian armor. But tactical reality is broader. Let us study how combined arms countermeasures systematically dismantle this threat. It is about isolated Ukrainian armor, engaging numerically superior adversaries. The lethal synergy of artillery strike, drones, minefields, and classic Javelin missiles. Only integrated effects can halt enemy mechanized columns. Let us break down the doctrine in action. A lone Ukrainian tank intercepts an entire hostile column. The lead vehicle accelerates only to absorb a precision direct hit. The kinetic energy breaches the hull, destroying the armored carrier. Despite momentum, the enemy presses on under heavy fire. Local mass failed them. The defender held a superior tactical position. A second enemy armored vehicle is catastrophically destroyed, torn apart by direct high-explosive impact. Aerial reconnaissance confirms the blast from another sector. The enemy assault has collapsed. The lone defending tank successfully denied the entire advance corridor. An attacking Russian main battle tank triggers a defensive mine, instantly severing its drive sprocket and tracks. It is an underbelly detonation, throwing structural debris into the air. This mobility kill leaves the target vulnerable to immediate follow-up fires. A Ukrainian crew seizes the initiative, maneuvering from defilade to engage in close-quarters combat. The second direct round penetrates the heavy engine deck, triggering a catastrophic thermal runaway. A massive fireball erupts, yet the tactical engagement continues. The defending tank is targeted. Multiple incoming anti-tank guided missiles lock onto its position. However, under intense pressure, the enemy fire control solutions failed. 3 consecutive incoming rounds miss entirely. Post-battle diagnostics reveal the friendly tank was simultaneously engaged by enemy elements from 3 distinct vectors. Superb crew training and battlefield awareness ensured they eliminated the threat and executed a clean, damage-free tactical withdrawal. An enemy armored column advances along a linear wood line. A friendly armor element maneuvers to intercept and opens fire. The second target is vaporized by a direct hit. The lone tank continues to suppress the remaining hostiles with high-tempo main gun fire. With the objective secured, the crew deploys a multispectral smokescreen to mask their retrograde. UAV footage confirms a secondary explosion. The initial kinetic impact likely sparked an internal fire, leading to a catastrophic ammunition brew-up. Dual reconnaissance UAVs monitor the engagement. Secondary feeds confirm the hostile force attempted to return suppressive fire. However, immediately after discharging its weapon, the enemy platform absorbed a terminal hit. During the enemy armored advance, 2 friendly tanks used the microterrain and dense foliage to establish a highly effective, concealed ambush vector, patiently waiting under cover for the optimal engagement window. The adversary held a local 3-2 numerical superiority, but the tactical initiative remained firmly with the defenders. Precision close-range fire systematically engages the targets. The rearmost vehicle takes the first direct impact. A follow-up round strikes the center tank, triggering a raging fire. Only the lead element managed to break contact. Declining engagement, it fled the sector. What follows is a textbook application of the loitering drone doctrine by Ukrainian operators. A compact strike asset hovers in the transit corridor, and the panicking vehicle drives directly into its path. While insufficient for a catastrophic kill, the kinetic disruption achieves the commander's tactical objective. Sensing threat vulnerability, the target is funneled directly into the pre-planned kill zone mapped out by defensive planners. The panicking crew veers off-road in a desperate attempt to break line of sight, completely unaware of the high-altitude reconnaissance drone currently tracking their telemetry from above. In their flight, the escaping tank collides with a previously destroyed armored transport, bringing it to a grinding halt and permanently neutralizing its operational mobility. Now abandoned, the heavy vehicle becomes a textbook static target. The initial strike drone guides directly into the open hatch, though our immediate damage assessment remains inconclusive. The overhead sensor detects smoke emission. A second strike asset on final approach confirms via optical feed that the initial payload successfully ignited an internal fire. The uncommitted strike drone is rerouted to engage an alternate combat damage target. A secondary ignition occurs, guaranteeing total internal system destruction. In this engagement, the catastrophic consequences of the hit are visually confirmed immediately. Following a precision hit on the engine compartment, the hostile tank erupts in flames. A jet of flame vents through the turret ring as the thermal reaction rapidly engulfs the entire hull. Once again, operators exploit the rear turret vulnerability. This vectors the payload directly into the main storage rack, maximizing the probability of a catastrophic ammunition detonation. When that ignites, a minor spark triggers a catastrophic secondary explosion, ripping the multi-ton armored hull into jagged shrapnel flung across the field, like cheap plastic toys. Our aerial reconnaissance spotted an enemy recovery vehicle in the open. Neutralizing it cripples their battlefield repair capabilities before they salvage armor. I ordered several strike drones to eliminate the asset. However, these heavy recovery platforms are heavily shielded with factory plating and crude cage armor. For several minutes, our FPV operators probed the target from multiple vectors, searching for a critical structural weakness. Persistent pressure finally triggered an internal thermal event, and the vehicle burned down to a hollowed-out shell. A severe blow to their logistical pipeline. Still, combat always leaves room for sheer friction and chance. Consider this engagement. Two opposing tanks advanced to close contact, ending up on immediate opposite sides of a dense tree line. Separated by barely 20 meters, our crew maintained superior situational awareness and fired first. They engaged immediately, tearing through the enemy hull. Observe the lethal impact captured from an overhead reconnaissance feed. Tactical decisions take seconds. You and I can see the violent kinetic blast shear armor plates clean off the enemy vehicle. This was a classic armor duel. Our main battle tank maneuvered onto the roadway, suddenly encountering a hostile threat masked by heavy fog. Fractions of a second saved our crew. Our lead shell struck home first, instantly neutralizing the enemy's ability to coordinate an effective counterstrike. However, hostile heavy plating held. Total destruction demanded a second, highly precise follow-up round. Battle damage assessment confirms the kill. The hostile asset is fully engulfed. Tracking that target through the fog was an exceptional display of gunnery. It demands professional respect and your support too, doesn't it? Our armor moves up to suppress hostile fortifications in the tree line, maintaining a relentless rapid rate of fire. Secondary detonations confirm their forward defensive positions. Along with cached munitions and support gear, are completely neutralized. Our tank conducts a fighting withdrawal under fire, prepared to counter potential FPV drone ambushes. We deployed a modified T-72, retrofitted with cage armor and reactive plating. It absorbed multiple drone strikes, keeping the crew alive long enough to egress. The enemy dispersed their mechanized column into multiple assault groups beforehand, launching coordinated strikes from different vectors to complicate our defense. But our defensive layout was prepared. Our artillery pounded the breakthrough sector. One armored transport shrugged off a near miss, only to hit our minefield. The blast ripped the target completely apart. The underhull detonation catastrophically ruptured the vehicle, showering the zone with heavy debris. Simultaneously, we swarmed the area with FPV drones, initiating a relentless sequence of kinetic strikes. Doctrine dictates mobility kill first. You must halt the column before you can destroy it. Once immobilized, we coordinate precision strikes to execute the final destruction of the heavy armor. If you and I analyze their tactics, veteran drone operators rarely try to destroy targets instantly. They disable the tracks first, then target vulnerable open hatches, expose compartments and structural gaps in the plating to trigger a catastrophic internal fuel fire. The crippled armor ignites, releasing thick plumes of dark smoke that obscure our thermal optics. Inside, the intense heat consumes everything of military value. We observed the enemy consolidating forces for an imminent offensive. I made the call to launch a preemptive strike. Exploiting zero visibility, our T-72 advanced to near point-blank range of their frontline trenches. This was a highly unorthodox maneuver, as modern armor doctrine dictates firing from defilade positions, whereas here, our crew engaged defensive works at direct fire distance, literally a few dozen meters away. The risk was extreme. They could have countered with rocket-propelled grenades and guided missiles, but our crew struck with total speed and surprise. Our tank systematically demolished their bunkers, ammo, and vehicles before breaking contact under the fog's shroud. The unit returned without casualties. Simultaneously, our defensive minefield claimed 2 enemy tanks and 2 armored transports on approach. Naturally, we did not saturate the entire sector with explosives, but our combat engineers accurately mapped the terrain to intercept their primary armored thrust. Terrain mastery and raw experience allow commanders to anticipate enemy movements and secure the objective. In my analysis, halting these heavily armored platforms required multiple mines, as their underbelly protection is exceptionally durable. But The chain of detonations did not just halt the target, it obliterated them. Losing 4 armored assets completely broke the unit's cohesion, forcing an immediate tactical retreat. My assessment shows not all 4 disabled targets were destroyed, some were merely damaged. Our drone teams quickly neutralized the survivors using tactical strike assets. An aerial reconnaissance asset captured enemy armor advancing from an occupied industrial complex. Their objective was clear: launch a direct assault on our defensive lines. 4 light combat vehicles deploy into column, pushing across open ground. Our defensive artillery responds immediately. Fire erupts around the column, but lacking pre-registered coordinates, we fail to score direct hits. Suddenly, the lead fighting vehicle breaks formation, pivoting into the open field to advance. Simultaneously, a hunter-killer drone locks onto a second target. A near-miss artillery shell damaged the hull with shrapnel, but that is not enough to stop it. The target must be destroyed, and our tactical drone refuses to back down. Seconds before impact, the camera reveals improvised log armor covering the carrier. It is a primitive field modification, but tactically effective. Still, the strike successfully immobilized the asset. The crew fled, leaving the main hatches wide open. Meanwhile, the lead vehicle pushes blindly across the field, driving directly into our prepared ambush zone. Our infantry scores a direct hit with an anti-tank rocket, while a drone finishes off the abandoned carrier. Additional strike drones arrive to swarm the retreating column. As commanders, we must partition our fires across multiple threats to successfully blunt this multi-pronged enemy assault. One enemy fighting vehicle is neutralized before it can even exit its staging area. A second vehicle attempts the exact same approach path. Upon reaching the burning wreckage of the first, the driver attempts a flanking maneuver. A fatal tactical error. Another of our rocket gunners scores a hit, disabling the vehicle's steering. Precision drone strikes and heavy bomber drops trigger a catastrophic fire, neutralizing the target permanently. In contrast, our Western-supplied Leopard tanks offer vastly different tactical options in these scenarios. The main battle tank dominates the battle space, showcasing superior speed maneuverability and advanced crew survivability. It systematically dismantles enemy defensive positions, crushing their hardened fortifications, structures that easily resist standard drone strikes. After securing the objective, the tank withdraws completely unharmed. An enemy fighting vehicle advances along a tree line. While the foliage offers decent concealment, our scout drone successfully identifies the threat vector in the strike asset. The drone is small. We only expected to disable the track, but instead we triggered a catastrophic explosion. A massive mushroom cloud of fire and debris climbs high into the sky. Our reconnaissance feed must pull back significantly just to capture the blast. During this assault on our positions, the enemy utilized armor equipped with massive improvised anti-drone defense systems. These crudely welded cope cages look primitive, but my tactical assessment confirms their effectiveness. At the moment of impact, the cages absorb the primary shaped charge jet, allowing the main hull armor to easily dissipate the blast wave and fragmentation. Neutralizing these protected platforms requires extreme pilot precision combined with a degree of fortune. When our operator disabled and ignited a target on the first pass, it demonstrated incredible skill. However, the accompanying tank pressed the assault, rapidly accelerating. We quickly launched a second interceptor in pursuit, direct hit, yet the overhead frame absorbed the blast and the tank maintained momentum. Our spotters relayed target coordinates to artillery, forcing a near-miss detonation. Shrapnel peppered the hull, but the heavy armor held, allowing the tank to advance. Then the tank strikes a minefield. 2 blasts detonate consecutively, but the mine roller absorbs the energy, sacrificing itself to preserve the vehicle's integrity. This engagement proves we must never underestimate the combat survivability of modern hostile armor. Still, our artillery maintains fire, and the enemy tank's defensive layers have been entirely stripped. Ultimately, the crew aborts the mission, executing a tactical turn to retreat. But this wasn't the end. The armor pushed into a dense minefield. Its roller absorbed threat after threat, triggering a violent chain of detonations. That thick, black smoke trail proves exactly how much punishment the hull took. But even the best mine roller has a limit. Eventually, metal fatigue and blast damage won out. Immobilized in the kill zone, the tank became easy prey for a Ukrainian FPV. One hit caused a catastrophic kill, but you and I can see the massive coordination needed to secure that final blow. Our combined arms approach mines and artillery softened the target, but the drone's payload triggered a massive secondary explosion, vaporizing the armor. This was no skirmish, it was a full-scale Russian assault. Multiple enemy columns pushed from several axes. Fortunately, defensive minefields successfully stalled their lead elements, giving Ukrainian defenders time to synchronize drone strikes and direct precise artillery barrages. In a different sector, enemy armor breached the perimeter, entering a ruined, abandoned Ukrainian village. The ruins offered them potential cover, and the open road promised a rapid advance. But in reality, they were driving straight into a well-prepared Ukrainian killsack. Once the armor bunched up, we unleashed a multi-layered strike. FPV drones hit key targets first, followed immediately by cluster munitions blanketed across the grid. Finally, rocket artillery finished them off. Along a third axis, 6 enemy armored units advanced on our line simultaneously, dispersing to avoid interfering with each other's lines of fire. It was useless. A Russian tank heavily up-armored with protective screens struck a mine and detonated. A Javelin missile slammed into the hull seconds later. With their command structure shattered, the enemy fell into chaos. We seized the initiative, immediately hitting them with everything in our arsenal. Pre-coordinated drone strikes and artillery salvos systematically dismantled their tanks and APCs. Hidden mines neutralized those trying to escape via dirt bypasses. Proper defensive planning became our ultimate key to repelling this massive assault. 2 hostile APCs managed to reach the tree line, tasked with dismounting infantry to secure defensive positions. Our aerial reconnaissance had them locked in. We monitored the dismounts, immediately feeding target coordinates to nearby units to crush the infantry element. Simultaneously, we had to destroy those empty transports to strip the enemy of mobility. Using our real-time recon data, artillery batteries opened fire on the sector. Initial rounds fell wide, bracketed closely around the targets scattered in the open field. But after swift corrections, a direct hit from a mortar slammed into the first vehicle. Seconds later, an FPV drone slammed into the second transport. Both targets sat smoking and burning, punctuated by another mine detonation. Next, we saturated the entire zone with cluster munitions. Though severely damaged, the armor required complete neutralization. We launched 2 more drones to strike each target sequentially. Our recon drone quickly confirmed a raging internal fire in the first vehicle, while the second was reduced to scrap metal after the strike. This engagement underscores a critical military truth: defending against heavy armor requires the perfect synergy of multi-domain weapons. Tanks and infantry combat vehicles are no longer the invulnerable juggernauts they were 30 to 50 years ago. But writing off their tactical relevance is a mistake. Let's analyze this shift together. Will. Advancing drone tech, smart mining, and lethal anti-armor weapons eventually render heavy armored vehicles obsolete on the modern battlefield. Share your thoughts below, subscribe to our briefing, and we will talk strategy again soon.